This is Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Sr. You will see and hear from producer Chip coming up here in just a few moments. By the time that you watch this show outside of our live program, I hope everybody out there is having a fantastic weekend. And be sure to hit that subscribe button here on the show if you want daily Philadelphia Eagles coverage right here on YouTube. That is insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking, where you have a voice. Join the movement for the most elite Eagles coverage right here on YouTube. Coming up here on the show, myself and producer Chip are going to list our top 5 favorite Philadelphia Eagles of all time. A lot of people I saw were in the comment section the other day saying, Chase, Chip, I want you to do a show listing your favorite Eagles players. So I said, you know what? Let's do it for the real ones. Let's do it for all of our legendary subscribers. And let's make it a segment here. And let's have some fun here on the show. We're also on today's program going to take questions for an Eagles mailbag. And a lot of the viewers watching our live show are going to list their favorite Eagles as well. Naturally, we pop up today's poll question. It is your turn. Who is your favorite Eagles player of all time? Let me know down in the comment section right now. As for my history as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, what an honor it is to be the host of this program that reaches millions of people every single month, which has over 100,000 subscribers, because I grew up in the Westchester area. Went to Temple University, and I've been a diehard Eagles fan really since I can remember. Been a fan since 1996 when I was 4 years old. My first memories of the Eagles, them playing at Veterans Stadium, me going to an Eagles-Redskins game at the Vet. It was a piece of crap, but it was our piece of crap in South Philadelphia in the sports complex. I remember getting my first couple of Eagles jerseys, Ricky Watters and Irving Fryer. I remember I had a Deuce Staley jersey too. I went to the Eagles Fan Fest at Veterans Stadium. It was a white Deuce jersey, and I got Deuce's autograph, and he said, I'll trade my jersey for yours. And I said, no. What an idiotic mistake made by me. I also remember the Michael Irvin injury, how Eagles fans responded to that, and what the national outrage was for the legendary Cowboys player whose career ended because of that awful turf surface at the Vet. I remember when Brian Billick and the Ravens wanted to play a preseason game at Veterans Stadium, but the turf seams were so bad, and that game was canceled. So many early Eagles memories from my childhood. The pickle juice game, which really started the dominance and the early portion of the Andy Reid era, and that early 2000 success, really starting with the pickle juice game, that was year 2 under Andy Reid, helped to shape my love for the Philadelphia Eagles. And now to be able to talk about this team every single day, it's a dream come true. As for producer Chip's Eagles history, I'm excited to bring him on because there's an age gap between us. He's younger, I'm older, and so our favorite 5 Eagles are going to be much different. Chip, take it away. Your Eagles history as a fan.
Yeah, of course. So, look, I was born in 2001. So, really like early 2000s, mid-2000s. I'm not really watching a whole lot, and I actually didn't even move to Philly until I was about 6-7 years old, right?
Okay.
Around 2006, 2007. And then when I moved there, after a couple of years, that's when I started to really watch sports, and I became an Eagles fan really right around 2009, and like early 2010s is when I was like really locked in, huge Eagles fan. That's when it really started with my fandom. And so for me, my earliest memories and what really got me into being a big Eagles fan is Sean McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, and some of those, early 2010s teams. And I'll always remember, for some reason, this is always stuck in my head. When I was a kid in my room, I had this huge Deshaun Jackson fat head. I don't know if you guys remember, like, those fat heads back in the day were almost life-size, like, big stickers almost, I guess you could call them, that you put on the wall. I had a huge one of Deshaun Jackson on my wall. LaShawn McCoy, who, I'll talk about more as my favorite player, like, really was one of the main reasons I loved the Eagles early on. I loved watching him play, and when I was growing up playing football, I was always picking either number 25 or number 10 for either of those guys, and I remember him running through the snow was pretty early for me. Yep. And I also always remember that growing up, I don't remember when I got these or where I got them from, but I had these cards. They're like player cards that would have, the picture of the player and their name on the front and then their stats on the back. I had all of these from Kevin Cobb, Jason Avant,
Wow.
like all those like early Nate Allen, like all these early 2010s.
Nate Allen, what a name.
Yeah, all these early 2010s Eagles players that I still have, not with me here, but back in my childhood home. They're all floating around my desk. So just ever since then, man, just diehard Eagles. And it's funny, too, because my dad is a huge Cowboys fan, but he wasn't able to turn me, baby. He wasn't able to get me on the wrong side of history. I'm obviously still a big Eagles fan, and, sorry to my dad for having to catch a stray, but he picked the wrong side.
One of the best decisions you've ever made.
Oh, yeah.
Not following your dad, like a lot of kids normally would. That's natural. And not becoming a Cowboys fan. Instead, becoming an Eagles fan. Fun era in the early 2010s for the Eagles. Not as successful as the era that I grew up with in the early 2000s. And it's kind of a shame that 2010s era didn't have more success. You can blame Chip Kelly for that because he shipped out LaShawn McCoy, Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, Shady McCoy. Those teams were awesome. In the early 2000s, much more success, making it the 4 straight NFC Championship games. I was at the one in 2004 when they finally punched that ticket to Super Bowl 39 and beat Michael Vick and the Atlanta Falcons at the time. But good stuff there. We'll go back to Chip here in a moment because he's going to give us his top 5 favorite Philadelphia Eagles of all time. Here are my top 5 favorite Philadelphia Eagles of all time. Number 1 for me is Brian Dawkins, and it's really not close. He's been the background on my phone for many, many years. The energy, enthusiasm, spirit, speed, physicality that he played with, I'm not sure that can ever be duplicated in an Eagles uniform again. The leadership, the captainship that he exuded, just the passion that he had for the game, he is the epitome of what every player should play like, how they should carry themselves when they put on an Eagles uniform. When he transformed into Weapon X, he was a different animal, and he's one of the best safeties of all time. His Hall of Fame speech, a great one, and it was so emotional when the Eagles let him leave for the Denver Broncos. He is a guy who should have never worn another jersey outside of the Philadelphia Eagles. Luckily for Jason Kelce, he only rocked an Eagles uniform, and he had a lot of the same attributes of Brian Dawkins. Him being a great leader, a consummate pro, always willing to be the face of the organization when things were going well or things were going poorly, and he's one of the best centers in the history of the National Football League. Lane Johnson, for me, comes in at number 3, just an all-time great player. Before it's all said and done, he could be the best right tackle in the history of the game. I'm going to go Jalen Hurts at number 4. The cool, calm, collected demeanor that he has, the intangibles that he possesses at the quarterback position, the amount that he's won, how exciting he's been as a player, the high-level success that he's had, 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, 14 wins in 2 of the last 3 years. He's been such a great winner at the quarterback position and, of course, won a Super Bowl in Super Bowl 59 with a flawless performance against Kansas City outside of that 1 interception, and he won Super Bowl MVP. My 5th favorite Eagle is going to be Brian Westbrook. Before fantasy football became really popular, Brian Westbrook there for a few years was the best fantasy football option because in a PPR league, running it, catching it, he was one of the most dynamic dual-threat running backs in the NFL, and he really helped to start a wave of dual-threat backs who couldn't just run it, but could also be weapons in catching the ball. And Andy Reid utilized him so perfectly. What a great player development story, and the ability for the Eagles to find and discover him as an Eagles player. Went to Villanova, then he ended up being a fantastic player for the Eagles. Other players in the mix here for me. I love the way that Jeremiah Trotter played, one of the best linebackers of this Eagles organization in franchise history. The physicality, the fearlessness always stood out to me. A.J. Brown has gone on just a dominant run where he's been one of the top wide receivers in an era with so much talent at that wide receiver spot. Before it's all said and done, he could be the best wide receiver in the history of this organization. You can make the argument now, he already is. 3 straight years of more than 1,000 yards. I really liked the humor the personality and the play of Hugh Douglas. I wish his prime would have lasted a little bit longer, but he gave Jim Johnson a great defensive end who was able to get to the quarterback. To Chip's point, LaShawn McCoy was so exciting. Such a unique blend of skills at the running back spot, the cutback ability, the crossovers, all of the moves, the patience, and the explosion. And then I'm going to add Saquon Barkley in there, only with the Eagles for 1 year. But I love how he, too, is a professional. He carries himself the right way, always says the right things. When the Eagles didn't get that pass interference call in the first drive of the Super Bowl against Kansas City, everybody thought, here we go again. The Chiefs are going to get the whistle from the Zebras. He calmed everybody down on that sideline, and I think it went a long way in just calming everybody's nerves down so that everybody could settle down and execute. And then I'll add in Brandon Graham. He could be higher on this list for sure, but spent his entire career with the Eagles. His story of overcoming the bust talk, where everybody thought that the Eagles should have taken Earl Thomas, and early on it looked that way, for him to redeem himself, come through with one of the biggest plays in franchise history, the strip sack of Tom Brady in Super Bowl 52, and for him to be a team captain and just have that vivacious personality that picks everybody else up. He certainly belongs on this list too. So that right there, my top 5 favorite Philadelphia Eagles with other players in the mix. Let's go to Chip's top 5 favorite Eagles. Again, different era, but you'll see and hear about some similar names here.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, kicking it off number 1, it's got to be LaShawn McCoy for me. I said growing up playing football, like I would wear his number. I would honestly try to play similar to how he played with just the shiftiness. And I think with the way he played the game, it's really what drew me in when I was young and like just really getting into football. Just so exciting to watch. And that's why Deshaun Jackson for me was my number 2. I had both of their jerseys growing up, posters of both of them. If I wasn't wearing 25, I was wearing number 10 for Deshaun Jackson as well. Just 2 guys that played the game in such an exciting way. And, you know, when I'm a kid watching this, it's like, man, like, look at the way Shady's moving out there, just making people look silly. Look how fast Deshaun Jackson is running down the field. So, like, those are the 2 guys for me that, like, when I think about when I first started watching, like, that was like my childhood right there, watching those guys play for the Eagles. Then at 3, I got Jason Kelce for similar reasons as Chase mentioned. Just obviously a lifer, someone who really embraced the city and really is the city of Philadelphia, never afraid to just be him, you know, and how much he really sacrificed and gave to this city. So got to give respect to him. I'm putting Nick Foles up here, baby, for what he did leading the Eagles to their first Super Bowl. Obviously being able to watch that when I was younger and everybody just watching what he was able to do in that playoff run was truly magical. And just him being able to get in there, save the season after. It was such an amazing season all year long with Carson Wentz. Everyone thinks, oh, the Eagles are cooked when he goes down, but the way he played, it's going to be talked about forever. And then I got Brandon Graham at number 5. Chase also mentioned BG. You know, another guy like similar to Kelce, just there his whole career, an absolutely great leader. Even up until this past year, his last year with the Eagles, was effective and was able to be out there and play hard. Obviously, the strip sack against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl is another just legendary play you'll always remember. So he's got to be up there for me. And then others in the mix, this is an interesting one. I'm throwing Troy Vincent in there, not because I really remember him playing or anything, but obviously he was a really good player. But he went to my high school, so I had to give him a shout out on this show.
All right, I like it.
Had to show love for someone who went to my high school, so I had to throw him in there for that reason. Jeremy Maclin is a guy that I know Eagles fans love and will give respect to, but I feel like outside of Philly, he doesn't get the love he deserves for how good he really was back in the day for Philadelphia. So I wanted to make sure I gave him a shout out because I feel like I never hear anyone talking about Jeremy Maclin. Devontae Smith to me is someone that I've loved watching ever since they drafted him. I have a Devontae Smith jersey. I wear it almost every single watch party when we do the watch parties here on the show. Just showing that, like, you don't got to be this huge, big body receiver. Like, people doubted him a little bit, even though he was the Heisman Trophy winner, for being so small and so slender and just, you know, inspiration for people like that.
You're known in the office as a big Devontae Smith guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Had to throw Jalen Hurts in there, of course, as well. I mean, for all the reasons Chase said, of course, and 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, just the way he goes about his business, the way he's a leader, the way he really just carries himself. And I think I started to prove he's going to have his haters, obviously, but really proving people wrong every single year. And then I'm throwing Zach Ertz in there as well. Obviously, a lot of big moments back during the Eagles' first Super Bowl. And, the Eagles going from when I started watching with Brent Selleck, going to Zach Ertz, going to Dallas Goedert, always had a pretty reliable tight end. And Zach Ertz is another player that I've really enjoyed watching, again, especially in that run to the Super Bowl. And, still kicking it, still hanging around, but definitely had to mention his name as well here.
I mean, shoot, you can make the argument that Zach Ertz is the best tight end in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles organization. So really our top 5 and kind of top 10 Philadelphia Eagles of all time. We'll hear from some of our viewers coming up here just around the corner. But first, how about this Eagles Super Bowl hat deal? Thanks to our friends at Fanatics. And if you use that link down below, you can find shirts, jerseys, hats, anything that you want as far as Eagles merchandise goes. Use that link down below. Chatsports.com/Super Bowl hat. This hat specifically on sale for just $17. There are adult sizes available, kids sizes available, so make sure you find the right one. These are the same hats that the Eagles are rocking after taking it to the Kansas City Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. We'll put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's Philadelphia Eagles. Now we shift gears to our mailbag portion of the show, and we have a couple of super chats to touch on. Let's go. Gunny Mac, $10. Sign Asante Samuel Jr. to freely move Cooper around in that secondary. Cross-train Ringo for the slot. Our pressure is so good with Carter. He is literally making everyone on the defense better. United States Marine Corps. Dallas ain't shit. Hoorah! Thank you so much for your service. We definitely appreciate that. All of our veterans who watch, we're so appreciative of what you do. And obviously, we're thinking about the current troops right now, given this current climate, and we are praying for safety, health, and wellness for all of you. Gunny Mac, again, thank you for your service. And you talk about Asante Samuel Jr. Look, double-digit pass breakups his first 3 years in the NFL after being a second-round pick out of Florida State for the Chargers, only played 4 games last year. If the neck checks out, is the talent too good for Howie Roseman to pass up on? Also, Jair Alexander, a 2-time All-Pro, who's been injured and is older, got $4 million worth up to $6 million. How does that impact the market for Asante Samuel Jr.? Now, I think a lot of people have this thought, you can cross-train corners and they can play in the slot, they can play outside. Much easier said than done. And I'm not sure that Ringo's size and physicality and the speed can be best suited and utilized in the slot. I'd rather him be on the outside. And then if you keep him on that outside, you can still use Cooper DeJean everywhere. Hybrid linebacker, nickel corner, and as Vic Fangio has alluded to, maybe safety from time to time. Paul C., our guy, $5. I sent you your Eagles jersey, by the way. I hope that you got it there, Paul. B-Doc and Westbrook all day, every day. Hope y'all are doing well, brother. Thank you, my man. I do appreciate that. Those are his favorite Eagles. Hard to argue against that. John Galt, different generation here, and I really like this because it goes to show you the generations of Eagles fans who tune into the show. Chuck Bednarik, that's awesome. Randall Cunningham, Brian Dawkins. And how about Chuck Bednarik's 1960 Eagles team being the only team to give Vince Lombardi a playoff loss in his entire coaching career? That's right. He only lost in the playoffs one time, and it came at the hands of the 1960 Philadelphia Eagles in the NFL Championship. Cool Reigns, Michael Vick, and Zach Ertz are my favorites, so that's more in that Chip era. Cool Reigns tuned in from Australia, as we know. Carol Hosey, haven't been an Eagles fan that long, but as a football fan, always loved Brian Dawkins. So explosive, so much passion for the game. You can just feel it, right? I mean, that B-Dog passion, it's one of one. Kane Angel, do you think the Eagles will win another Super Bowl in 7 years' time? Man, I think that it would be a massive disappointment if they don't. Best owner in the game, best GM in the game, top 5 coach, one of the best rosters. They have to take advantage of this prime right now. Cool Reigns again. Hurts could beat Tom Brady's record and win more Super Bowls, and the media would still attack him. Can you imagine if Jalen Hurts goes on to do that? 2 Super Bowl appearances in 3 years. Tom Brady won, what was it? 2 and 3 years, I think. Something I mean, he got off to a terrific start. But it's crazy how people just rip Jalen Hurts. I mean, he could win MVP, and people will still say he's carried. I mean, it's just wild at this point. Hey, this is why you subscribe to the channel. We always hit you with news, analysis, rumors, good football takes, but we like to have some fun, and we like to include you. So hit that sub button, and thank you so much for watching.